It is mailbag time here on the Chiefs Report. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. So if you have a question for me, use hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat to get your questions on the show, and we will answer as many of them as we possibly can. From Terry Singleton, MSO. I don't know what that means. Do you think the holding call was a bad call? I don't think it was a bad call. Now, is it an unfun way to finish a Super Bowl? Absolutely. It's not fun to watch Jarrett McKinnon take a knee at the 2, then Patrick Mahomes take a couple knees, then, to set up a chip shot field goal to essentially end the game. Like, if you're an average football fan, that's obviously not a fun way to win it, but at the same time, if the referee sees the defender grab Juju Smith-Schuster, which if you watch like the replays on the backside angle, which I don't know why, but Fox didn't show those, it's so clear that he grabbed. James Bradbury mentioned it. What's the official supposed to do? Like, look, I love bitching at the refs. It's fun. But at the same time, like, I think sometimes we just have to say, look, this is a hard job, and he grabbed him, he saw it, and he threw the flag. I don't know what we want him to do. Is it a brutal way for a Super Bowl to end? Yeah, I'd say so. Was it the right call? I think it was. MDB 3000, Andrew Wylie made himself a lot of money last night. Thanks for the super chat, MDB. I don't know about a lot, but I do think he made himself some money, and he could be a cap casualty for the Chiefs. They may have to let him go. Maybe Darian Kennard or Lucas Niang wins that job next year. I was high on Niang a couple years ago, but he got injured again. But I think he could hold down that spot if he's fully healthy. But shout out to Andrew Wylie, man. That matchup last night with him against those pass rushers, I was concerned, and nothing stood out. He didn't get beat. He held up. If anything, he was the better player than a guy like Hassan Reddick. So good for him. I thought he was terrific. From Tangy Chicken, should Kansas City re-sign Juju Smith-Schuster this offseason? I think he's a guy that I would be open to bringing back. I do think the market will dictate a lot. Like, if a team's going to throw $20 million at Juju Smith-Schuster, Brett Veach is probably going to be like, hey, man, thanks for helping us this year. Best of luck. Like, I don't think they're going to pay him $20 million a year. But if it's like 15 or less, I do think they'd be open to that. It comes down to what Juju wants. Does he want to cash in and make top dollar? Wouldn't blame him if he did. Does he want to come back at a 75% discount and, chase another ring? I could see why that would be appealing as well, as long as he's still making decent money. So we'll see how it goes. I'll be curious to see how the Chiefs evaluate this draft class at receiver and, how they view their own guys. Like, do they view Kadarius Toney as a potential number one? I think it's a little rich to say that at this time, but I'm excited about his future. So, again, Brett Veach has got some decisions to make, and Juju is certainly a big one. Now, do you think the Chiefs should re-sign Juju Smith-Schuster? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Should Kansas City re-sign Juju? From Tylene, what's a free agent that could possibly go to Kansas City? Trying to think of some external guys. Could they go sign a Marcus Davenport? I think an edge rusher could be a possibility. We don't know what Frank Clark's future is, but Davenport was really good last year, not so much this year. You might be able to get him on a bit of a discount, so he's someone who stands out. What if a guy like Michael Thomas gets cut, right, and you can get him for on the cheaper, former, one of the best receivers in the league with the last 3 years. He's had tons of injuries. OBJ, kind of in the similar mold. Could you get him for cheap? So there's some guys out there, and Brett Veach will certainly take a look at some of those guys. From Ray, do you think Mahomes is a all-time top 5 QB now since he has 2 MVP, 2 Super Bowl, and 2 Super Bowl MVPs? I think last night, cemented him as probably top 10 all time, which is crazy to say. But you could make the argument. You could throw him in that conversation. Through 5 years as a starter, we've never seen someone be better. That's just a fact. That's the cold, hard truth. Top 5 is rich. There's a lot of guys out there. Top 10, though, I'm comfortable saying he's a top 10 quarterback of all time. From Juice 10, do you think Hardman is gone? Yeah, I think so. Sky Moore played a little bit better and better down the stretch, had touchdown in the Super Bowl. So I do think that he'll have a bigger role. You traded for Kadarius Toney, who's obviously going to have a big role on this team. There's no doubt about it. So I think that Hardman is gone. I think Juju could return. So we'll see. I'd like to bring Justin Watson back as like a wide receiver 5. He played a nice role for this team. But I would be pretty surprised if Mecole Hardman returned next season. Today's show is sponsored by Fume. Fume is going to get you back into the right habits. You can get 10% off the Journey Pack at tryfume.com/chatsports. Be smart, don't start. Kick the habit and put it out before it puts you out. All phrases we've heard 100 times, yet we still continue to do those bad habits. Our sponsor, Fume, is on a mission to accelerate humanity's breakup from the bad habits that consume far too many of us. Fume is a natural diffusive device that uses plants and behavioral science to help you trade out your negative habit for a positive one. Now, I do want to make this clear. Fume is not a vape. It's a non-electronic device designed to transform your negative habits. Instead of pods filled with potentially harmful chemicals like a vape, Fume uses cores infused with plants like peppermint and cinnamon for delicious natural flavors. Fume's new version 2 model is snappy and tactile with an adjustable airflow dial and a magnetic end cap. Your fingers will always have something to always do. I personally really like how, first of all, the look of this design of this device. Very easy to use, and it comes in this sweet little box as well. Just pop it in there. You can travel with it. No big deal. A couple of good flavors that I'm a big fan of as well. Turn those negative habits into positive ones with Fume by going to tryfume.com/chatsports. That's going to get you 10% off at checkout. Check the description. Check the comments for that link below. Tryfume.com/chatsports. That is tryfum.com/chatsports. Another super chat from our pal Eric. What's up, Eric? Is it true that Kadarius Toney is the love child of Dante Hall and Gallum? Either way, he's earned his ring, my precious. That's funny. I will say this, Eric, and I had a conversation. We talked about this last night on the show. If Kadarius Toney does nothing for the rest of his career, that was already a successful trade for Brett Veach. He sent a 3rd-round pick and a 6th to the Giants, and Kadarius Toney just had a huge impact on a Super Bowl victory. He had a touchdown in the red zone, and he had the longest punt return in Super Bowl history to set the Chiefs up at 1st and goal at, the 5 or 6? And by the way, I think he's going to do a lot more for this team. But the point being is that was a great trade, regardless of what happens from here on out. You got a Super Bowl out of it. He helped you get one. Hey, shout out Kadarius Toney. He could be a lecture, man. He was fun to watch last night. Another super chat from NDB. Shout out to you. Marcus Kemp made 4 key blocks in that punt return. He is a future special team coach for sure. Listen, Marcus Kemp is a bit of an unsung hero. I mean, left the Chiefs, came back, practice squad, elevated in the playoffs, and he's just a special teams ace, man. He really is. I mean, I'd like to see him be on the 53 next year as your number 6 receiver and special teams guy. With Juju and Hardman being free agents, I think that's a possibility. If he could give you just a little bit offensively, I think he'd have a better chance of being on the roster. Maybe he can continue to develop as a wide receiver. Tony Fuentes, I think Orlando Brown stays. I think he'll be back. The question is going to be, is it going to be a long-term contract or is it going to be under the franchise tag? That's what it's going to come down to. I do think he'll get tagged initially for sure because the Chiefs aren't going to let him hit the open market, but the question is, will they be able to come to terms, something they were not able to do last year? DJ Wolfenstein, what position is the biggest need to address in the draft? Potentially right tackle. Andrew Wylie's a free agent. I don't know how they view Lucas Niang at this point. Darian Kennard was inactive for basically every game this year. It might have been every game, so I don't think he's a candidate to take that job, at least entering the offseason. So right tackle's a spot. I think edge rusher, is Frank Clark back? This time last year I was ready to let him go, but if you can get him back on a restructured contract, I would certainly be open to that if he's willing to do that again. So I think edge and right tackle are probably the top 2 needs right now. One more, backup quarterback. I mean, I like Shane Buechele, but I think you at least have to bring in competition for him. So whether it's a vet in free agency or it's a late draft pick, I think you need to figure out QB2, whether that's Buechele or someone else with Chad Henne retiring. HFA Recon, could we possibly steal Jessie Bates from Cincinnati considering Juan Thornhill is a free agent? In theory, yes, Bates set to be a free agent again. We'll see if they tag him again. I bet they don't. I think he'll probably walk. But I like Jessie Bates. Is this team in position to throw big money at a second safety, though? Like, Justin Reed already makes over $10 million a year, or close to $10 million a year. I doubt they'll do that. If you could get Thornhill back at like $6 million a year, I would do that. I like Juan Thornhill. I think he played well this year. You've got Brian Cook in the wings as well. He was used in 3 safety sets quite a bit. So safety is a sneaky position to watch out for as well. Subscribe to the Chiefs Report and join our weekly mailbags. Link is below. Every single Monday we go live. This is your chance to get your question answered on the show. So subscribe and join us on Mondays, 4 Eastern, 3 Central Time. Jackson Boswell, trade up for Quentin Johnston. I mean, I love QJ. I'm a TCU alum. I've watched every game of his career. I think there's some route running stuff he needs to fine-tune, but he's better than Jalen Reagor, Josh Dotson. He's not going to be a bust like they were, I don't think. 6'4", 215, yards after the catch. I'd love to see that type of receiver with Patrick Mahomes as well. If he's there at 31, that's awesome. You probably have to trade up for him, though, into the 20s. So, I'd be open to it. If they like him enough, I think he'd be a fun player for this Chiefs offense. Mahomes is my daddy. With Chad Henne retiring, is Shane Buechele a lock to be QB2 next year, or will Kansas City bring in competition? I definitely don't think he's a lock, because if he was far enough along with his progression, then I think he would have had a better chance to push Chad Henne the last couple of years. But to Henne's credit, I mean, when he's had to play, he's played well. Now with him retiring, I think Buechele has the first crack at being the backup, but I do think the Chiefs will bring in another quarterback via the draft or free agency to bring in competition. I don't think you can just roll with Shane Buechele as your QB2. I do think you need to bring someone in. I like some day 3 QB draft options. Max Duggan, I think Stetson Bennett. Those are a couple of guys on day 3 of the draft I would take a look at. Hell, if Hendon Hooker falls far enough in the draft, I'd be intrigued by him. But obviously, you got to figure out backup quarterback now. Now, who do you guys think will be Patrick Mahomes' backup QB next year? Is it going to be Shane Buechele? Again, I do think he'll get the first crack at it, but I don't think you can just give it to him. I think you need a competition there. So let me know, who do you guys think will be the backup quarterback in 2023? Some free agent options, by the way. Marcus Mariota is going to get cut. He could be an intriguing name. Jameis Winston's going to get cut. He could be an intriguing name. Andy Dalton's a free agent. So there's some vets out there that if you want to throw $2, $3, $4, $5 million to be a backup, you could certainly do so. Tony Fuentes, did you enjoy the halftime show? I liked it, yeah. I thought Rihanna did a good job. She had a baby last May, and I think we were able to confirm she's pregnant again. So great job by her. I liked it better last year, but hey, I'm just 50 Eminem. I mean, that was like me growing up with rap, so that's hard to top. But I thought Rihanna was good. I thought it was a good performance. Definitely one of the better ones. MDB with the super. Deion Bush walked in on the day we lost Tyreek Hill. He walks out a Super Bowl champ. He was good for the young guys in the secondary. Absolutely. And he's a great special teams player. Played that role in Chicago for several years. Veteran player. So, we'll see what the future holds for him. But I thought that was a sneaky good pickup by Veach last year. Greg Goodwin, who is the best players to sign or trade for? I mean, trade guys, DeAndre Hopkins, he could be out there. Could you imagine if the Chargers cut Keenan Allen and the Chiefs signed him? I mean, how epic would that be? With the beef between Allen and the Chiefs over the years, he just comes over and balls out in Kansas City. That'd be pretty funny. I think guys to sign internally to look at, sneaky one, Jarrett McKinnon. I want to bring him back, pair him with Pacheco out of the backfield. So we'll take a look at some free agents. We'll do some free agent targets, some trade targets. Busy offseason ahead. Just another reason to subscribe. Nick gets the second to last word. We'll do 2 more here. Should we get a proven player or try to draft for our needs? It just depends. The beauty of having a win-now team like Kansas City does is you can be a little picky in the draft, right? You could draft best player available. You can draft for a need. You can trade down for more picks. Trade up if you fall in love with the player that you want. So we'll see what takes place over the next month or so leading up to free agency, and then we'll kind of have a clearer picture. Apex Affairs. Ooh, and then a super chat from him as well. It's the same question. Is it the same question? Pretty much. We'll go ahead and flashed the super chat for Apex. He says, I think we should go after D-Hop and Myles Garrett. I mean, yeah, but I don't think you're getting Myles Garrett. I'd love to take Myles. I mean, Myles Garrett next to Chris Jones? Would there be a better 1-2 punch on a defensive line? I don't think so. I think Hopkins is more realistic. I actually think that's a possibility. Myles Garrett will probably cost you multiple firsts and probably another pick or two as well.